Second part of the question from Mike Bogle in relation to open source and Linux was, what do I think of Linux distros? The question was, do you think the increasing usability we're seeing in desktop Linux distros like Ubuntu will translate to more movement away from Windows and Linux? Are disgruntled Windows users more likely to go to Mac, or will we see a relatively even amount of both? I want to love Linux distros. I really, really do. I have my first Linux distro, I think was Red Hat 7. I had the dummies book, and this is, I don't know, 98 or 99 or something like that. It was just a pain in the ass to use then. I saw through, what's it called now, Mandriva. I played with a couple of those distros. Ubuntu or Ubuntu, or however you pronounce it, is obviously the flavour of the month. But there's a couple of, Xandros is pretty cool. Yeah, considering that they're free, I'm stumbling across this, but considering that they're free, I mean, it's a positive. But if I look strictly from the consumer viewpoint, not a business perspective, not a service perspective, from a consumer viewpoint, Linux still isn't there in terms of usability. Linux fanboys love telling you, but it does everything Windows does, and it has all this power. But most users don't want the extra power; they just want stuff to work. And I know probably 9 months ago I put Ubuntu on a laptop. Was having problems with Windows, and I can probably maintain this laptop if I put Ubuntu on it. Put the thing on there, wireless drivers don't work. Now it was a 12-month-old laptop, mid-range Acer, nothing unexciting, nothing unique about the hardware. Just didn't work. Couldn't get wireless to work at all. I tried everything, tried command line stuff. That's the. I mean, I think I consider myself. I'm certainly no huge techie, but I can do basic command line stuff. So I'm probably one step ahead of where the average consumer would be, and I couldn't work it out. So that's the problem Linux faces. End of the day is until it's. I hate to say easy to use as Windows because it's probably not the right way, but it's still relatively consumer friendly like Windows is. It's not going to take a huge market share. Why Mac is going so well, why Apple OS X is going extremely well, and the figures out today actually show that the market share is up to about 6.9% in the US now. I think the laptop market share is pushing 20%. OS X just works. You just turn it on and it works. You don't have to stuff around with drivers or the hardware works. Okay, there's the lock-in factor and the fact the hardware costs more, bloody lot more than Australia. The wonderful Apple tax. I mean, God, the US dollar and the Australian dollar is virtually equal, and it's twice as much to buy an Apple machine in Australia. Go figure. But I switched to Apple 12 months ago after 20 years as a Microsoft user with DOS and then Windows, and I never go back. I ended up buying a MacBook Pro laptop, so I've got a Mac Pro and a MacBook Pro, and I love it. Easy to use, and the most important thing about Mac is you never think about the fact that you're running it because it just works. There's no virus scanning. There's no bullshitting around with your hardware and hard disk this, and it just I don't have to run maintenance tasks on my Mac, no matter how messy. Okay, maybe except for cleaning up my desktop, but that's as bad as it gets. So I think more and more people come across the Mac. I think if Mac released OS X for any machine tomorrow, I think within 12 to 18 months. Windows would lose at least half its market share. That's how much I love Mac, and I think it's a great product. And if you took away the lock-in, people would flood to it. The only thing holding back Mac from bigger market share is the lock-in to Apple computers and the cost involved in there, because there's really not a lot of in terms of low-end options. Mac Mini, yeah, but Mac Mini here in Australia is $1,300. I mean, I can walk into bloody Big W and buy a $300 PC. That's the difference at that low end. So it's changing. That the key to Linux and Apple and Windows is how it's end user usage, really. How easy is to use, how burdensome is it, how does it react with hardware, factors like that. And Mac's a mile ahead. I want to see Linux go well, and some of the Linux distros and some of the desktop apps and stuff. It's pretty exciting stuff, but it's still got a long way to go. I'm hoping that it goes well in the future.